Let's jump right into it. So, hello everyone and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us this morning or this afternoon, depending on where you're located. My name is Ashley Trevisani. I'm the Business Development Manager for Cosmetics, OTCs, and Supplement Testing at Certified Laboratories. Today, we'll review a practical guide to SPF assay testing to support your product development strategy. And joining me today, I have Lisa Alshall. She's the Senior Director of Drug and Device Consulting at EAS Consulting Group. And Nishmita Ramachandra is our R&D scientist from Certified Laboratories, both of whom will provide regulatory and technical expertise throughout today's presentation. We're lucky to have them here. Moving to the next slide. Before we dive into testing, it's important to understand what's driving the market. Consumer interest in sun protection continues to expand beyond traditional sunscreen products. We're seeing strong growth in multifunctional products that combine skincare, cosmetics, and sun protection. So you'll see things like tinted moisturizers, foundations, serums, and lip products with SPF claims. This demand is reflected in the market data. The US sun care cosmetics market was valued at nearly $2 billion in 2024, and it's projected to continue growing at over 7% annually through 2033. As brands expand their SPF offerings, the need for reliable testing becomes increasingly important to support brand and product quality, consistency, and compliance. Next slide. With that market growth in mind, let's talk about what SPF assay testing actually is. SPF assay testing is a laboratory-based analytical approach used to identify and quantify the UV filter ingredients and SPF ingredients within a formulation. This testing serves several important purposes throughout product development and manufacturing. It can be used to qualify incoming raw materials, verify formulation targets during development, support regulatory requirements, and confirm active ingredient levels during routine batch release testing. So this testing is really important and it is required by the FDA. So that's something that Lisa will go over through the regulations and quality portion of the presentation. Next slide. SPF testing begins long before a product reaches the market, and at Certified Labs, we can support you and our customers throughout the entire development lifecycle. The process often starts with raw material qualification, where UV filter ingredients are tested to confirm their identity and purity before they're incorporated into a formulation. Once formulation work begins, SPF assay testing helps verify that the intended UV filters are present at the correct concentrations. This gives formulators confidence that they're on target before moving into more advanced testing. As development progresses, we support feasibility, validation, and verification studies to help manufacturers assess whether their formulation can support the intended SPF claim and generate the data needed for regulatory compliance. As Lisa will discuss shortly, this is a critical step for products marketed as OTC sunscreens in the United States. Following formulation development, products typically move into stability and compatibility testing. So here, SPF assay testing can be used throughout the study to monitor active ingredient levels over time and help ensure product quality and performance throughout its shelf life. Finally, once a product is commercialized, SPF assay testing becomes part of a routine batch release testing to help verify consistency from lot to lot and support ongoing quality control. So next slide, this is where I'm going to pass you off to Lisa and she'll take you through the next three regulatory pieces.
Thank you, Ashley. So a good place to start is looking at a typical label of a sunscreen product. So just the disclaimer, we're not endorsing any particular brand. This was just an easy one that popped up on the web, so it serves an illustrative purpose. So the first thing you want to look at is what the SPF value is, or the SPF claim, if you will, on the product. And you'll see here that it's a 15, SPF 15. This is really important because it goes back to what Ashley was saying about verifying the levels of your active ingredients in the product, which contribute significantly to what that SPF value will be. Another term that you want to look for is broad spectrum. That means the product is capable of filtering out UVA and UVB rays. You also want to look for the term water resistance, and there's usually a time frame associated with that. In this particular example, I think it says 80 minutes. We'll talk a little bit about the monograph and the testing to support those claims, but this is really important that there's the water resistance value reported on the label. And then in the drug facts panel, which I didn't show, you'll see that it'll have what the sunscreen is and the concentration. And this is all based on validated chemical assay methods that the certified laboratories are happy to support you with, as we will hear more in more detail from Nashmita soon. Now, just a thing to point out is you really do want to avoid false or misleading claims, such as sunblock. That's where broad spectrum is the appropriate term there. Sweat-proof and waterproof. These terms are not really valid in the monograph anymore, so you want to look for water resistance. If you see sweat-proof or waterproof, that is not allowed per the FDA. And if the FDA finds your product with that wording, they will deem it to be misbranded under Section 502 of the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. So with that, the next slide, please. Okay, so the regulatory SPF testing requirements are very clearly defined in the over-the-counter monograph M20, sunscreen products for over-the-counter human use. So there's three pieces here that are important. One, in section 0.8, is the sun protection factor procedure. So this SPF test is actually a clinical study performed on a test panel of human subjects. And the goal is that you have enough subjects to produce a minimum of 10 valid test results. So typically, a firm might run this test with, more than 10 people, 15 or so, just to make sure that after all the testing is completed, that you have 10 valid results. The next test that's described is the water resistance test. And there are two specific time frames that are identified in the monograph. There's a 40-minute time point and then an 80-minute time point. And so that means, again, water immersion, you're using the procedure described to evaluate the SPF factor. So the idea is you apply the product, you're exposed to water per the protocol, and after 40 minutes, you repeat the test in 0.8 and verify that you still get the same SPF value. And then you do that again for 80 minutes. So it's either 40 or 80, there's nothing in between. So if you see something branded 60 water resistance for 60 minutes, that's outside the monograph requirement. And then the last test is the broad spectrum test procedure. That's defined in 0.9, section 0.9. The sunscreen product is actually applied to polymethyl methacrylate plates and irradiated with UV light. And so there's some absorbance and transmission values that are calculated, and there's a critical wavelength that is important to evaluate to meet the requirement for the broad spectrum claim. So I know that's a lot of words. It's a lot of explanation. The key thing is it's not just enough to formulate your product with the sunscreens and assay those sunscreens for their content in the formulation. You also have to do these additional 3 tests per the FDA requirement. So with that, we'll go on to the next slide. So one point that's kind of interesting around the sunscreen monograph is that this is the first time we've really seen a new administrative order in the OTC space. So there are two kinds of administrative orders, a tier 1 and a tier 2. So a tier 1 is what's happening in this particular case, where there's a new ingredient that's added to a monograph that already has one or more ingredients found to be GRAS, generally recognized as safe and effective. So if you go to the monograph M20, you'll see there's many, many compounds that are listed that are allowed to be used in sunscreen products. The other change you could make is adding a new indication for the ingredients that are already there. So then, obviously this one is a sunscreen. Say for example, you want to say it's a moisturizer, or you want to say, I don't know, making something up. It's a skin protective active ingredient. And then the third is you could add a new monograph therapeutic category. So that would be a separate submission as well. And a point to note is that human clinical trial data is required for tier 1 changes to a monograph. Next slide. Just look at yeah. So the recent example, as I mentioned on the previous slide, happened but basically almost 2 years ago. DSM Nutritional Products is the requester. They submitted a tier 1 OTC monograph order request, abbreviated OMOR, to add bemotrizinol, sorry, it's hard to say, BMT, at concentrations of up to 6% to the monograph for use as a sunscreen ingredient. So this is not an easy thing to do, nor is it inexpensive. And I just pulled up the FDA website. So the current fee for that process to be paid to the FDA by the submitter is $587,529 for 2026. So in addition to that, you're also paying the cost of the clinical trial. Among other requirements, this new ingredient must conform to the other conditions that are mentioned in the monograph with respect to concentration, permitted combinations with other sunscreen active ingredients, and with skin protectant active ingredients, and permitted dosage forms. So this is a much easier way to make changes to monographs. Before, it used to have to go through the Federal Register. With the CARES Act, we have a faster way of making changes, but they are costly and take some time. So next slide. A couple things to point out as well in the sunscreen space is, the FDA pays attention to everything that you do. And there's been some recent enforcement actions against sunscreen brands that has reinforced the importance of ensuring that your OTC products align with the monograph requirements. So certain examples here are examples mostly of the format, where in the monograph it'll tell you the product has to be a lotion or a spray or something of that nature. Well, in these particular cases, companies were marketing the formulas as a mousse or a foam or a whip style sunscreen. So the only whipped thing I've seen recently is cream cheese. So whipped in a dose of a pharmaceutical product is not on the FDA's radar of approved things. So the formula texture, product format, ingredient combinations, and claims could all be impacted. So you need to be really careful that you comply with the monograph. It is not discouraged. The FDA, on the other hand, does not discourage companies from putting out innovative products. You just need to check with the FDA first and have a robust regulatory assessment before commercialization. So with that, we'll go to the next slide, and I will turn it over to Nishmita. Thank you.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining. Thank you, Lisa and Ashley. So today I'll be walking through some of the key testing approaches used in sunscreen analysis and sharing few insights in the analytical method used to support sunscreen testing. So let's start with SPF raw material qualification. So raw material qualification is one of the first step in ensuring the quality of SPF product, and it is also a regulatory requirement. So testing is performed using compendial methods such as USB monograph, and depending on the ingredients, it may involve HPLC, GC, IC, or by titration. So during the qualification, we evaluate the identity, assay, impurity, or any other specific test listed in the monograph. So essentially, we are confirming that the ingredients meet the required quality specification before it is released for use. This step is crucial because it directly affects manufacturing, product performance, and compliance. Next slide. So before we move on to the types of sunscreen, let me explain like the two categories of sunscreens. One is chemical and the other one is mineral. So chemical sunscreen works by absorbing UV radiation, which then dissipates as heat. Because no single chemical filter provide complete UV coverage, formulation often use a combination of UV filters to achieve the broad spectrum range. Whereas in mineral sunscreen, it primarily protects the screen by scattering or reflecting the light. Typically, we rely on zinc oxide and titanium dioxide as an active ingredient. So chemical sunscreen quantification in finished products. What we do here is we have an in-house validated HPLC method where we test a range of UV filters. So, the ingredients as listed on the screen, we test all of them in one run. So the most common ones what we test here is oxybenzone, octocrylene, octinoxide, homosalate, avobenzone, and octisalate. These are the most common ones we receive. The rest is we call it as uncommon. We don't receive it that often. And we do get like a lot of samples in these chemical sunscreen. Moving on to the next slide, mineral sunscreen. Here we test by ICP OAS method. This is again a validated method. The basic ingredients, major ingredients are titanium dioxide and zinc oxide. Here in this method supports UV filter concentration, batch to batch consistency, and alignment with the intended formula use. This gives the confidence that whatever the formulation is intended and what we are getting in the report. Next slide. So for the next one, so some of us may already know or familiar with this, but I wanted to take this opportunity to highlight one of the most significant recent development in UV filter analysis. FDA recently approved the bemotrizinol, making the first new sunscreen active ingredient to be added to the US OTC sunscreen monograph since late 1990s. So here at Certified, we have a validated method for testing bemotrizinol, and this method also includes bisocortrizol. So this method is actually a 7-minute method, and it is a faster turnaround time. And when we validated this method, we followed the ICHQ2 guidelines, supporting the reliability and regulatory compliance. During this validation, we evaluated key performance characteristics, including linearity, accuracy, precision, intermediate precision, robustness, to demonstrate method's suitability for its intended use. And because this method can run both analytes, and it's a 7-minute run, this improves the efficiency and without scarcing the quality. And this helps in like faster turnaround. As this active was recently approved by FDA, but this has been already approved in EU, Australia, and Asia. So we also test these analytes in the product intended for those markets and as well as for the customers for those regions. Moving on to the next slide. So in this slide, we have an example for a CFA, basically a report, what you get after you test your products. So the CFA contains a session number. That's a number what we give to the product once we receive here in certified. Once we have that product, we have the session number. So that is captured here, in the CFA, which helps in traceability of your product. And then it also contains the batch number, batch product code, and bulk or raw material or whatever the categorization is. And then it also includes the test performed, the test method, the analytes that was tested, and the results what we received after testing your product. So all in all, like the CFA will have a brief summary of what was done and what is the results for that particular product. I now hand over to Ashley for the next one.
Thank you so much to Lisa and Nishmita for walking us through those regulatory and technical slides. That was a lot of great information. So now that we've gone all over those deeper details, let's get into some of the benefits of using certified labs. First, we're committed to innovation. Our R&D team has developed validated methods for emerging UV filters, and we're one of the first labs to have validated the method for the newly approved UV filter, bimotresinol. This allows us to support our customers as the sunscreen market continues to evolve. We also understand that speed and flexibility are critical. Whether you're conducting early stage R&D work, routine quality testing, or you're in need of accelerated rush turnaround times, we offer multiple testing pathways and can customize stability programs to fit your development timeline. Last, but perhaps most importantly, our clients have direct access to a team of experts. From our analytical chemists and PhD scientists to regulatory specialists, we're here to help navigate testing requirements and support informed decision-making throughout the product life cycle. Next slide. So we have several locations across North America to support you depending on where you're regionally based. All of our labs have the accreditations here listed on this side. They're all ISO 17025 accredited as well. We have our Burbank, California lab at 40,000 square feet. We have a Carrollton, Texas lab, 16,000 square feet. Out east, we have Melville, New York, which is a 35,000 square foot lab. And then finally, up in Canada, Edmonton, we have 15,000 square feet. So depending on where you're based, depending on the testing you require, we would direct you to the most appropriate location. Next slide. Getting started with us is simple. As mentioned, we would identify which lab best fits your need and where you are located. Reach out to our team. We can arrange initial discovery call to go through some of your initial needs, what kind of testing you require. We'll put together a quote with turnaround time so you can build that into your internal timelines. And then we'll walk you through onboarding and you can get started with submitting samples to our lab. And from there, testing would begin. Next slide. Okay, Certified Laboratories is committed to helping brands deliver safe, compliant, and high-quality products to the market so the world can trust in what it consumes. Next slide. So outside of all of the SPF assay testing, we're going to go through our stability capabilities. So stability testing helps evaluate how a product performs over time under various storage conditions. We can assess key attributes such as appearance, pH, viscosity, package compatibility, micro, and active ingredient levels to help support shelf life expectations and product performance. Next. Beyond SPF testing, we do offer a comprehensive range of micro, chemistry, stability, and specialized test services. So this allows our customers to utilize our lab for more than just SPF testing. We can consolidate your testing program with a single partner. And this just lists a lot of the different capabilities that all of our locations are able to test. Next slide. If you'd like to connect with us and discuss a current project or learn more about our capabilities, our team here would be happy to connect. So please feel free to reach out to any of the contacts that are listed here on this slide. We'll make sure that you're connected with the appropriate person. You're welcome to reach out to me at any point. I can answer questions or again, connect you with the subject matter expert depending on your question. Next slide. So that is it from the presentation piece. We're going to move into answering any questions that were pre-submitted before the webinar. And then once we've got into those questions, we can go into the live Q&A chat and just answer any questions that were submitted throughout the live webinar. So looking at these pre-submitted questions, there's one here. I need safety testing on a skincare product. Please send requirements. So just off of the last few slides that I went through, if you are looking to get started with testing and submitting samples, please reach out to myself. I can then have an initial conversation with you. We can work together, or I can connect you with another regional sales rep in your area. We can talk about the requirements. We can talk about your product formulation and just get you started. We'll send you an onboarding form. We'll walk you through how to use our sample submission form. And then from there, you can start submitting samples. So please feel free to reach out to myself and we'll get you into that process. Lisa, there's some questions here from you. I'll pass it off to you.
Okay, sure. Thank you, Ashley. So first question, and I'm looking at my screen over there, so apologies. What are the most common regulatory mistakes you see brands make when launching SPF products in the US? So I would say having the data to support not only your release, but also your expiry dating and your long-term stability plans. So yes, it's very important to have your method validated to do your testing for your SPF water resistance and broad spectrum support, but you also need to have that stability component. That's pretty important. That's pretty critical, and the FDA will expect to see that when they come back for a visit or when they show up for the first time. And also making sure that you have that label. There's I didn't go all through the details. There are a lot of requirements for OTC labels as far as font size and positioning, etc. So that's another area where I think label review, warrants a lot of attention. Okay, so what are the obligations of a contract manufacturer when it comes to sunscreen testing? So typically, as the manufacturer of a drug product, you would want to ensure that the product that you are making meets the label claims and the specifications that your client has given you as far as their expectations on how that product is performing, batch to batch. So while the product, sometimes the contract manufacturer just makes the product and then sends it to a contract testing lab for support, there still needs to be oversight from that contract manufacturer as far as what kind of data is coming back from the testing lab and an external verification, if you will, of that work from periodically. Again, if the brand owner decides that they want to have the testing done somewhere else, it's in your best interest as a contract manufacturer to at least have your own testing in the event that there's a discrepancy. Can you go over the different methods between ISO and FDA and go over different options for broad spectrum? As far as the US is concerned, the only option for broad spectrum is what is defined in the monograph that I went over earlier in the presentation. Um, I don't believe the FDA, I'm not familiar with the ISO details, but the FDA, I don't want to say doesn't care, but they want to make sure that you comply with the monograph requirement. And then lastly, what SPF testing can be done and claims can be made about products relying solely on plant-based photo filters. So essentially, if you're making drug claims, which are, which is saying that your product has a skin protectant factor of whatever, you need to comply with the monograph. The FDA does not recognize plant-based photo filters as sunscreen active ingredients. And so they're really, you can test the product if you want to, but it will be considered misbranded by the agency because it doesn't comply with the monograph. We're more than welcome to submit an OMAR, like I mentioned, back in my part of the presentation, to have those UV, the plant-based photo filters considered as active ingredients, but until they make their way into a monograph, the FDA would not allow it. And with that, I'll turn it over to Nishmita.
So I have a question. Is pimetricynol still considered a chemical sunscreen ingredient? Explain the safety compared to the old chemical ingredients like everbenzone. So yeah, bemotrizinol is still considered a chemical sunscreen, where in terms of its nature, bemotrizinol has the ability to screen, like to absorb UVA and UVB. It is slightly on, like I would say it is more superior or like more better than the regular. So for the older sunscreens, because of this main property of absorbing UVA and UVB, and also it absorbs less into your skin, so it is more into on a surface level and less into your bloodstream. So in those ways, bemotrizinol is considered more safer than the traditional everbenzone sunscreen. The next question is, how do you extrapolate accelerated stability study to get confidence in the expiry date? I am not too familiar with this. I don't deal with this one so often. On top of my head, I would say that you have to follow the ICH guidelines to do this, but yeah, I'm not too familiar with this one.
Yeah,
And the next question,
yeah, I can, is that the last one? Oh, how many? Yeah, I can answer that, Nishmita, if you want me to.
yeah.
Okay, so typically 3 months of 40-75 for, putting your product up at 40 degrees C, 75% relative humidity will give you 24 months of expiry dating. So, and then, every interval inside of there, you can extrapolate out if you don't get the 24. There's a CHIPA guidance that's based on the ICH guideline. If you go to the CHPA website, you can look at that without being a member, and that gives you some really good guidance. The key point here is, even though you do the accelerated data to set the initial expiry date, you need to follow up with real-time stability to confirm that is the correct value. Okay, sorry. No, go ahead.
No worries. The next question is, how many sunscreen products do you test a year? I would say like on an average for a week, we test about 200 to 300 products. So if we multiply it by the number of weeks in a year, it's close to 1 million, I guess.
Thank you. Yeah, we do a lot of product testing. We've seen a lot, have a lot of experience with that. So that is it for the pre-submitted questions. We do have a couple of open questions in the chat that came through while we were doing the webinar. There is one here. I think I can answer it. So the question is, which department at Certified Lab Group is handling and preparing quality agreements prior to sending any samples as part of the third-party qualification requirement? We have a quality assurance department here. If you have a quality agreement that you'd like us to review, we also have our own agreements as well. We can get sorted with all of that. Please reach out to myself and I can connect you to the appropriate department to support with quality agreements. Okay.
I can take the next one. What test reports and technical documentation should I request for an inorganic UV filter supplier to verify that the material is safe for cosmetic use and the particle size, coating, and other specific match vendors claim? For example, I have a vendor with a new coating on zinc oxide particles. Um, I can provide you the list of documents one through email, but I can cover brief on like what we do on coated zinc oxide testing. We do test them, and we have seen certain customers submitting us the samples which are zinc oxide coated. These do behave a little differently than the regular ones, the non-coated ones. So we have a method which is adapted, which is designed to extract and digest these coated zinc oxide to get the accurate results. When I say when we, and also I want to add here is it could be submitted as raw material because we do get a blend which is of like 60%, 70% zinc oxide. They don't fall under raw material category. So we only test raw materials when it is like the claim is 100%. That's when we follow the Campanian method. When it is like 60%, 70%, or in any sort of blend, it comes as a bulk raw material, bulk blend. So we consider it as like a bulk sample, and it will go in as in-house method. But yeah, regarding the documentation, we can provide you through email.
Thank you. Um, we have one more question on here, and I think we're going to start to wrap up in the next couple of minutes. Any takers on this last question?
Q1, ICH Q1
Yeah.
is the reference for the expiry date. The whole the stability is all under ICH Q1.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
So, as we begin to wrap up, I just want to thank Lisa and Nishmita again for taking the time to go through those technical and regulatory pieces. If there's any questions that we have not answered, or if any questions come to mind as you begin to digest all the details that we went through, um, we will send out, I'm going to respond to this with my email address so you can reach out and we will make sure that your questions are addressed. Um, as we begin to wrap up, just a few things. We are going to be sending out a survey so you can let us know how you liked the webinar, and provide any feedback. We would really appreciate that. And then finally, we are going to post this webinar. It has been recorded, so it will be posted in our resource library for future reference. So you're welcome to go in there and browse through all of our resources. So thank you again for everyone for taking this time out of your day to attend, and we hope to connect with you soon.